I rise to make my contribution to the debate on the order before the Senate concerning the suspension of the fiscal rules, cognizant of the stark divergence of views that has been characterizing the debate so far. Mr. President, where some see doom and gloom, there are those of us who see bright prospects and possibilities. Where some come to this debate through the lens of significant debt accumulation, there are those of us who come to the debate through the prism of opportunity at resetting and rebuilding. Indeed, while some wallow in despair, others are bold and cloak themselves in optimism. It is my plea, Mr. President, that we desist from missing the forest for the trees, as some are wont to do. To the extent that there are some things over which no one has control, it is incumbent on a responsible government to preside over the affairs of the nation it governs, making preparations for the worst, even, Mr. President, as it hopes for the best. As I consider this moment and come to terms with the suspension of the fiscal rules the order before us today proposes to do, I cannot help but cast my mind on what is happening now versus what things were like just a couple decades ago. For many years, the Jamaican economy was characterized by high and unsustainable debt, Senator Scott Motley. For many years, the Jamaican economy was characterized by high cost of living. These are, of course, the Davies-Patterson years. Yes? For many years, the Jamaican economy was characterized by high employment, particularly among our nation's youth. Fiscal deficits were the order of the day. Heavy taxation, revenue uncertainty, high interest rates, fiscal profligacy, and a rapacious appetite for borrowing. In recent years, however, well, there you go. In recent years, however, Mr. President, courtesy of the sterling leadership of Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness and the admirable work of the men and women, both past and present, who would have served and are still serving in his administration, the profile, Mr. President, of the Jamaican economy is remarkably different. Pre-Hurricane Melissa, our economy was characterized by declining debt, Senator Tomlinson, balanced budgets, fiscal responsibility, moderate inflation, moderate interest rates, revenue certainty, and buoyancy, fiscal resilience, and of course, Mr. President, no new taxes. You see, Mr. President, while there is no delight in having to relax our fiscal rules, especially on account of a most devastating natural disaster, in this case, Hurricane Melissa, we can take heart from the fact that the fiscal pivot we are now making as a country is in itself testament to our adaptability, dynamism, and indeed our fiscal resilience, Mr. President. Our fiscal mettle is being tested. But as we saw during COVID, as we saw during the drought, and just last year with Hurricane Beryl, we will recover stronger. We do it already, and we are going to do it again. Mr. President, the ultimate measure of fiscal discipline is not so much what you do when you are within the context of an IMF superintended program. Indeed, the true measure of fiscal discipline, the true measure of fiscal responsibility is what a government does outside of an IMF program when it does not have a big stick hanging over its back. I'm coming to that now. Mr. President, the fiscal resilience we boast today wasn't always a feature of the Jamaican economy and our everyday experience. In fact, here in Jamaica, Mr. President, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to a man who celebrates his 78th birthday today, our former Prime Minister, Orette Bruce Golding. Mr. President, it was under the Bruce Golding administration of September 2007 and October 2011, with Wholeness succeeding October 2011 through to December 2011. It was under that collective administration, Mr. President, that the fiscal responsibility framework was heralded. Let's go and listen and learn. It was under that administration, Mr. President, that we seriously started to reorder our steps and do things in a fiscally disciplined way. Fiscally disciplined way. No chaka-chaka business. Mr. President, that JLP government of September 2007 to December 2011 re-engaged the multilateral financial institutions. We sustained a campaign to lower interest rates. And we must big up and credit former Finance Minister Audley Manayar Shah for that sterling and spirited campaign to drive down interest rates in this country. Take a bow, Audley Shah. Mr. President, during that Bruce Golding administration, we sought to foster competition among the banks, such things as loan or mortgage portability. We undertook, Mr. President, a debt operation. So when people come and talk about fiscal rules and how we got here, Mr. President, we undertook a debt operation, JDX. We divested, Mr. President, loss-making public entities like Air Jamaica, SCJ, and CTL. Of course, SCJ being Sugar Company of Jamaica, CTL being Cayman Track Limited. I will thank the late Don Webber for his contribution in that regard. Mr. President, we took steps to rein in our legacy debt that were an albatross around the neck of the Jamaican people. Legacy debt like Soapberry, Carrington Alumina Partners, Cricket World Cup, you name it. And we changed the game, Mr. President, in corporate governance. Governance, Mr. President, is in the DNA of those who sit on this side. And of course, we acknowledge the leg ran by the Simpson-Miller-led administration of January 2012 and February 2016, as decent people know how to give credit where credit is due. What has not escaped my notice, Mr. President, is the usual cynicism and ridicule emanating from those who have made it their point of duty to, in my view, badmouth Jamaica, scoff at our successes, and pour cold water on our otherwise downplay and diminish that which is good for Jamaica. They do so, Mr. President, thinking that they are sucking it to the government and scoring political points. What they are in fact doing, however, is betraying a level of unpatriotism and ill will that should be ridiculed by well-thinking and patriotic Jamaicans. Make no mistake, Mr. President, the US $6.7 billion that has been pledged and will be available to Jamaica in our reconstruction and resilience building efforts is exhibiting a degree of confidence and support and endorsement of our management of the Jamaican economy since taking office in March 2016. The fact that we can be characterized based on the assessment of external people, reputable authorities, as having performed admirably so far in the recovery effort is testament again to the competence of this wholeness-led administration, Mr. President. And so, let me state very clearly and for the record that the government is not celebrating the acquisition of debt and the attendant increase in our debt to GDP ratio. What we are celebrating, Mr. President, is the tremendous vote of confidence manifest in the recovery package being made available by the international financial institutions, IFIs, and more importantly, the opportunity it affords Jamaica, both the government on the one hand and our private sector, to recover even stronger and build back even better. That's what we're celebrating. So you can telegraph that to the opposition leader. You see, Mr. President, it is not borrowing and debt in itself that one should be concerned about. It is what you do with the money borrowed that is of critical importance. The sober, disciplined, and effective government led by Andrew Michael Holness will be using the money coming our way to undertake, Mr. President, growth-inducing infrastructure development and ensure that Jamaica is climate-proof, future-ready, and even more resilient going forward. At that, we are taking the money, though. Today, we are hailed by the international community as the poster child of fiscal responsibility and fiscal resilience. Special credit is to be paid to our former finance minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, who had the foresight and the vision to secure a catastrophe bond with the World Bank, Mr. President. The CRIF, and we know the vintage of the CRIF, that it existed from the Omar time, yes? So we always, as decent people, give credit or accord credit where credit is due, yes? And of course, Mr. President, the catastrophe bond. So, Mr. President, consider where we would have been with the impact of Hurricane Melissa, the scale, the scope, the magnitude of it, if we did not have the robust and fit-for-purpose disaster risk financing framework that we had prior to Melissa impacting us. Had we not fostered the kind of good relations that we have fostered, not only with the multilateral development partners that we have, IDB, World Bank, and IMF, CDB, and others, but also, Mr. President, our multilateral partners, all those states, and we wish to use this forum again to register Jamaica's sincere appreciation for the outpouring of support, collaboration, and partnership that we have had post-Hurricane Melissa. In closing, Mr. President, on behalf of the government led by Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, a name that causes some to quake and quiver in their boots and in their seats, I can, on behalf of the administration, Mr. President, give the assurance that even while Jamaica acquires significant debt and navigate the recovery and reconstruction of our economy and country, as stewards of public funds, the people's money, Mr. President, we will be focused, diligent, fiscally responsible, and caring in so doing. We will not make things unduly burdensome or difficult for the people of Jamaica, because indeed, we do not have to have the big stick of the IMF hanging over our backs or hanging over our head to be fiscally disciplined and responsible. We do so, Mr. President, in and out of season.